Welcome to another episode of the Pennock Knockdown, a podcast where we explore key tactics and strategies for digital marketing. Today, we have Ivan from Digital Rocket Ads joining us. Ivan, so excited to have you here.
Hey, Nikki, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Ivan, tell us a little bit about how you came to found the agency and what you were doing prior to Digital Rocket Ads.
So, prior to that, it was like 10 years ago that I was in fitness and I wanted to have like more customers. And I hired a local agency here and they basically ran boost posts. And yeah, like that was my first ever experience with Facebook ads and agencies and stuff like that, where everything just got wasted and I didn't get a single client, but they showed me all of the likes that came from surrounding countries. So I'm like, I'm a local fitness coach. Why does like from a country next to us make a difference? And they were like, yeah, it's amazing. So right away, I kind of noticed a big problem in that industry, mainly because that agency was considered to be a decent agency. So the moment I kind of lost my mind with people not working out and not following their meal plans, I wanted to do the ads, and mainly because I ended up learning everything to do for myself, and I kind of understood that I could do this easily for everybody else.
Interesting. Great. Well, I mean, that's a good way to find a new niche for yourself and flex the muscle to see whether or not you had the skills. So then when you started your agency, was it mainly within the fitness vertical and wellness vertical to start, or not necessarily?
So I started as a freelancer in Upwork after I finished like maybe doing like 6 months to a year, like working with local businesses here in my country. But I wanted to work in the United States. I wanted to work with English speaking countries, mainly because I knew that that was like the place where you wanted to become good in marketing, especially like small European countries. Even if you're good, nobody cares. So you want a place where you have a lot of opportunity, a lot of ad spend, and of course, a lot of competition. To me, let's say like that, like 10 years ago I started freelancing, and then it took me like a year or two to grow enough in status there on Upwork to get enough customers to start hiring people. But my main job was I worked in agencies as a freelancer from everywhere, like Australia to Britain to America. I worked in agencies for like 3 years.
So that again, cutting more experience and getting up to speed. And now fast forward to where you are today, which sounds like about 10 years after
Yeah.
this first instance of getting into the industry. And now your agency does a lot more than just paid ads, correct?
Exactly. We saw the major need to just make it all in one place for customers, because often we started working with businesses and then they, like way back before, we didn't even have creative teams. So if they didn't have creatives, we were just stuck with what they gave us. So like that's not scalable. So you can imagine any problem that they had, we ended up developing down the road as a service. And the more we take away from the customer as a problem, the faster the whole account rebounces, the whole business starts growing and scaling, which is kind of the point of working with an agency.
I love it. What a good way to find problems and build solutions for them. So let's talk a little bit about, we're now in 2026, just newly in 2026. You probably read a lot about what we're leaving behind, what we're bringing forward. What are you excited about in the digital marketing space overall? And what are some things you'll be testing that maybe you didn't get to test so much last year?
So this year we're doubling down on running ads for ourselves and growing that side, as well as I see that developing here an academy for local people that are from Eastern Europe are hungry to learn and actually do a lot of work is going to be the way to go. And those are the two major investments we're going to do this year. Main reason why is because I just see that in general, the cost of labor in the States is skewing towards like just more developed things. So like if you're good, you're really expensive. So who is going to help the medium size and small businesses if they're really expensive and good guys just work with big companies? So I see that as a major opportunity for companies and that are outside of the United States that can come in and help and solve a major problem for those small ones or the small businesses. But at the same time, I see that there's going to be a lot of major change in what we are able to talk about, how we're able to advertise. There's a lot of like, let's say, gates being broken. So I think that there's going to be a lot of changes regarding like some policies, how we can advertise, how rapidly we can advertise. And on top of it, I expect that Meta is going to enable us to start scaling accounts even faster. With this Andromeda, I expect with time, as that algorithm develops, it's going to be able to just take in a lot more money, because that the point of Andromeda is to help the big guys spend even more.
And has the rollout of Andromeda been more or less successful in terms of KPIs for the brands you're working with, or have there been any instances where it's actually not been helpful?
Well, I have a lot of horror stories, as you can imagine. So most of the time, I see brands, especially retailers, that are just like brain dead. Often when they run ads, they just do the white background with the product, and they're like Andromeda, and I'm like, okay. So basically, you got a dynamic product ad with no variation in creative. And they just and they're like, Andromeda doesn't work. Well, yeah, you didn't even try to understand what the creative needs to look like. That's one of the most often situations. Other situations that I don't like is just when anything is hyped, I kind of don't like it. And there's a lot of people that stopped running ads and then heard about Andromeda, and then they just launched an Andromeda campaign. And again, that's going to crash and burn. So what they see that you still need to understand the basics and the fundamentals of running ads way before you level up to, like you need to first learn how to dig with a shovel and then rank up to a bulldozer. Otherwise, you're going to cause damage, which keeps on happening.
So you just talked about one misconception being that I'm going to run dynamic product ads with a white background, no variations, and like Andromeda will make it successful for me. And that clearly didn't work. What are other misconceptions that people have around how to operate right now within digital ads?
So first of all, if your tracking is not good enough, Andromeda is going to not have enough data. So that server-side tracking needs to work. Second thing that we're working on is a partnership with Blot Out. If you haven't heard, they work with like a company like Stape. So basically, you pay them to sell you their additional supplementary data that goes side by side with Meta's databases. And then when you go into your Facebook pixel, you will see the option like how accurate your data is in the pixel and what is the match rate. So when you introduce Blot Out or Stape, that's going to improve your data and understanding that the algorithm gets. And with that, the learning phase is going to be shorter and optimization is going to be better. Things like that also need to be set up. Like there's a lot of homework you need to do before you make a campaign like that work optimally. So those are just some. There's a lot more. I often see people never even think about doing audience segmentation. So you can imagine you have an option to set up what is your new customer, what is your past customer, and what's your existing customer. Or basically just two categories, existing and new customers. So if you don't do that, the algorithm is just going to spin in circles and machine gun everything it sees. And often enough, it's going to devolve into hitting the people it kind of knew from before, warmer people, and then that kind of destroys your performance for growth.
Is there like a spend threshold that one needs to hit before you start audience segmentation, or do you start that even with brands that have really small budgets?
I would do that right away. The same thing how you go in and set up like a custom campaign or custom audiences before you even start launching ads. I would do this because you're giving the pixel and the whole algorithm understanding who is new, who is old. And by that, the algorithm is going to then understand what's the purpose of it, how it needs to act. Because the Andromeda campaign can be really good for prospecting and it could be really good for remarketing. But if you don't separate those two into two cohesive cohorts, with distinct messaging, distinct creatives, it's just not going to work because it's kind of like, you can imagine if you come to introduce yourself to a person for the first time and you do a good job. But if your ad is stuck hitting the same people over and over again, it's kind of like you coming up to a person introducing yourself for 500 times in a row. It's insane. But advertisers keep on doing stuff like that.
What about like legacy builds of lookalike audiences or like proper interest segments? Do you think things like that are going to work in the future? Are they working now for you?
Well, we keep on testing them. We keep on mashing them with other stuff. Honestly, when we get Andromeda to get stable and to work, we don't have problems. So we tend to use those lookalike audience only when we either don't want to use an interest. So that's usually when we get an account that's maybe doing really good on organic. And then we use that data to build a lookalike instead of you working with an interest. Otherwise, if we didn't have the traffic, then we would just use the interest. But again, it really depends on the state of the account and the stage of the business and traffic sources.
Okay, so we talked about misconceptions and issues within Meta. I know prior to this conversation, we talked a little bit about site experience and maybe like slow speeds and other things that might prevent people from converting. Are there any other things that are so major for you and so easy to fix, maybe that brands continue to overlook around their site experience or something that isn't paid media?
So this is a like 50-50 for anyone that's a CEO of a company that's over like 45. Most of those people never check their website through their phone. So you can imagine they pay a company to build out this beautiful website on desktop, and then nobody checks the mobile. And then you pay an agency to spend all of your money on Facebook or whatever, and you acquire mostly mobile phone traffic. So I often come in and just show the people, like, can you try buying with your phone through the website? He's like, oh, no, I don't use my phone for that. I'm like, yes, but your customer does. Like 75% of your traffic is your mobile. So try and do it. And then they see that it's all like glitched. It's not compressed properly. Like the menu is taking up a third of the screen. There's like the pop-up is malfunctioning. And then they understand that they spent so much money hitting people that actually couldn't or didn't want to go through the hoops of a badly optimized mobile website. So that's actually more common than you think, because the average CEO is a guy on a laptop, not on a mobile, even though the average user is a person on a mobile phone.
That's fair. And then I suppose when you look at website average conversion rate, maybe it's not terrible because maybe they do have an okay amount of traffic converting through through desktop rather. But when you start to separate out mobile versus desktop conversion rate, it should become pretty obvious.
It's always the same story. When they make a mistake like that, then they start blending their traffic. So they don't have a conversion rate that's cold. So they don't have a clue, like on 100 new people, how many of them are going to convert. They just look at their total conversion rate. And the problem with that is that those are repeat customers as well. So you have probably like a repeat, let's say 5%, and then you have 1%. So if you blend that, it's going to be 2.5 to 3%. And that looks amazing.
So they're like, we're clean of a problem. Let's just keep moving.
The website's not the problem. That
Yeah.
like when they tell you like that and they like 100% the website not the problem, like install heat maps, please.
What about the landscape of everything SEO, GEO, AEO? What are you advising brands or like seeing within that evolving landscape with everything in the LLM world?
I'm glad that I don't have a background in SEO that much, mainly because it's just like what happened with AI just is a nuclear bomb for that industry. I love the fact that now Reddit and Wikipedia and everything else is going to play a bigger role. And I see that more and more agencies are getting on the bandwagon of ranking themselves on GPT and stuff like that. So they get recommended by that. We recently got our first person that found us through GPT, and we talked to them, and it was a cool experience, but it's a lot of work and it's a completely different discipline. I don't know it that well, but I think that everybody switching out to like an AI model, figuring out how to use that is going to be better. But at the same time, I think that advertising on that is going to start appearing more and more. And then what's the point? Like when that advertising starts hitting, it's probably going to be then a problem, like what is organic, what is not organic. So we're going to get the hybrid of Google at some point through ChatGPT.
Right. And I think I was just reading a headline today that Microsoft Copilot or their AI model is allowing you to check out directly in the AI search results. So, it's exciting to see that the consumer may be able to convert without making it to your website. But I don't know if that helps us as marketers prove our worth or the point of what we're doing. So, yeah, everything's becoming so much more gray.
I have an issue with AI doing stuff like that because I actually followed a couple of different stories with Microsoft Copilot going in and just destroying like the whole like C drive of a computer and stuff like that because it misunderstood. So that's one of the main problems. When you give it your storage access, it can go haywire and make a lot of damage. And especially Microsoft Copilot is not great from my experience. So I'm kind of sticking to just doing simple stuff through GPT. I use VO3 for video sometimes. That's enough. I'm still not ready to give access to my hard drive.
So if you had a crystal ball and we were talking again at the beginning of, let's say, 2028, what do you think is going to be top of mind for you as an agency owner, for brands? Like, what will we be focused on then? Like, how can we kind of steer the ship in that correct direction?
Well, I'm waiting for some kind of technological improvement regarding AI, not AI, sorry, VR. I kind of think that there's a lot of space there that's going to happen and that potentially there's going to be a big difference. If not, then probably we're just going to have TikTok continuing to grow. My perception of Meta is that they're going to have to get some sense into them, because if you look at how the support for TikTok looks and how much support they give you, like from information to ideas to just the stuff they give you through email, it's 10 times better than what Meta gives you from support. And I think that Meta lost too many advertisers just through the fact of them being assholes and having a monopoly. And that's kind of the biggest problem. When they launched like the AIs that started banning everybody left, right, and center, like I remember one customer of not our agency, of tier 11, I think, they were selling seeds like for onions and stuff like that. And the AI misunderstood those seeds for boobs. So it automatically destroyed the whole account. And the problem was you couldn't manually revert it. That's how they made it. I think that I had a suspicion that they had a problem with people going into Facebook and getting bribes to unban accounts. And so that's why they try to use an AI that doesn't have a manual reverse. That's the only reason why I would say that something like that would be implemented if they had a massive problem with people taking money to unlock accounts.
Yeah, that's fair. I haven't really pondered on that one, but you bring up some good ideas there.
When you lose customers because of that, you remember.
Okay, I want to go back to the VR thing. So you're kind of thinking that there's going to be a new platform, a new something, maybe multiple platforms. Maybe it's all much more diversified and people are not just on TikTok and Instagram as they are now. Is that kind of how you're seeing the future evolve in the next few years?
So we saw that Apple made their goggles that were $3,000 to $4,000, something like that. So if they manage to bring it down to $1,000 and have similar performance, which is not like 3 to 5 years since that happened, it makes a lot of sense that they're able to do something like that. I think that a lot of people would start doing it. Everybody pays $1,000 for their phone, or at least most of the people. So they got everybody used to paying $1,000 for a tech like that. So potentially, I'm waiting for that one product that wins over everybody. You know how Steve Jobs unveiled the first iPhone, so everybody started buying smartphones. Like that was the moment there was no going back. And I expect that some company, probably, my money is on Apple, honestly. But if not, then probably some Chinese company then is going to launch something that everybody's going to just fall flat. Like we have now Meta Quest and stuff like that. I have it in my home, but it's not that great.
All right. Well, I love these ideas for what will come in the future. I know we've just got a couple minutes left, so I want to take a minute to maybe have you talk through your how people can find you and what kind of service you bring to the table right away for brands. I know we talked about your audit offline, and then where they can get in touch.
So our philosophy is to show everything first. And that's why we always go through a process of doing an audit for every brand. You can find us on digitalauditads.com. And on that website, there is a form that you can fill out and give us access, only view access to your Facebook ads, Google ads, website, and email. We do analyze other stuff, but that's the most common thing we go through. And that gives us a holistic understanding of the whole business. Usually we also get access to the P&L, and then we can get a clear understanding what is performing, what isn't performing, what needs to be cut out, what needs to be changed. And often enough, brands suffer and don't scale only because they had a lot of small inefficiencies that everybody kind of forgot about. And on top of it, the average business owner is now stuck managing 3 to 5 different agencies, plus running their business and production side. So the fact that they don't have the time to actually get everything done, plus the fact that when you have a lot of different partners, there's gaps in between them nobody manages, that end up bleeding the business a lot more. And those were all the reasons. And after talking to so many different businesses, that's why we developed that whole system where we do everything together. So if we build the website's going to perform because we're building it for our advertisement team to run ads on it. And the same goes for email and basically the tracking and everything else. And I just see that that's the way we all have to go, because running just Facebook ads is never going to work. If somebody's doing really good with email next to that, that's going to have a higher marketing efficiency ratio, and you're going to lose because the business that can pay the most to acquire a customer will always win.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Ivan. Really good insights, and would love to have you on again in a handful of months so we can hear how things have changed and moved in the industry.
Thank you very much, Nikki.